So you are telling me that 50 murders a year, 59, these are simply invented statistics. And in fact, the figures in Britain for gun murders are many more times that, yeah? That's what you're saying.
Exactly what your own constabulary is saying. Actually, I don't know that you included in your litany the Cumbria murders that occurred well after the gun ban, in which 12 people were murdered. I admit I had to look up where Cumbria is, but it happens to be on the west coast of England.
Yeah, don't be patronizing. 50 murders in 2005, 41 2009, 39 in 2011.
No, you had 970. I don't know what you're talking about.
This is complete nonsense, Mr. Pratt.
You're from another planet, Mr. Morgan.
So you are stating,
and that's why you're having trouble living in America.
I love it. I love it. I can watch that and listen to that over and over and over again. And we went right to the source. No, not Piers Morgan. I don't know where he is. He's in hiding from America, apparently. But joining us now is the president, the executive director of Gun Owners of America, Larry Pratt. Hello, sir.
Hey, good to be with you, Steve. You know, what he was talking about was he only considers it a murder worth talking about if it's committed with a gun.
Right.
But the rest of the murders that I was pointing to were done with the good old-fashioned way, a baseball bat or whatever.
Of course.
You know, you're dead, and if you didn't want to be dead, then it really doesn't matter what made you dead.
But, you know, a lot of people believe that you, primarily, and the other pro-gun people that he has put on are directly responsible. His alienation of the people who believe in the Second Amendment, the fact that he was ill-informed and misleading on purpose, as you just pointed out, in my opinion, you know, that it led to his downfall. And let's face it, all the reports I've seen say he was fired, and when you get fired, it's usually because your ratings stink, and we know that his ratings stink. You know, he says America didn't want him, whatever. No kidding, right?
He kept trying to tell us that we got our revolution wrong, and he was telling us even worse, I think, with a British accent, and that just didn't fly. And he came into that show taking over the Larry King spot with 2 million viewers. He went away with only 10%. That's pretty stunning, and it tells me that there's a philosophical bias all the way up the CNN management, because I think if you're working a rational business without an ideological agenda, you're going to say, man, we've had a 25% drop. We got to get something done.
Yeah.
And they let it go 90%.
Unbelievable. Yeah, so how much?
He did it to himself, and I just sort of stood there and let him dance around and make himself look very bad. So if that was what helped push him along, I'll be happy to take credit for it. But honestly, the guy. But one thing I will give him credit for: he established the Piers Morgan Memorial Endowment Fund here at Gun Owners, and the Piers Morgan Memorial email list. And it was that email list that enabled us to kill the Toomey Mansion gun control bill last April. So in a
You mean these are causes you took up or lists you put out based on his crusading against the Second Amendment?
He sent all those new members to our website, crashed that puppy 3 times.
Wow.
And so when we put out an email saying, you know, we haven't heard from the NRA on this Toomey Mansion fight, would you please, if you're an NRA member, and only if so, would you please contact this guy at this number and ask him to urge the NRA to publicly oppose this measure? Well, a week later, they did. And when they did, something we had had no idea about came out. Senator Manchin screamed like a stuck pig, saying, "This is betrayal. You've done a 180 on me. Why are you doing this? We were pushing this. We almost had this in the bag."
Yeah. No, that's interesting. Very interesting information. We're talking to Larry Pratt here on the Steve Malzberg Show. All right, let's talk about a couple of decisions that took. First of all, in the span of the past couple of weeks, we had the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals overturning the very limited right to carry law in California, the very restrictive right to carry law in California. 3-judge panel overturning that. So that was good news.
And they're not going to appeal. We just learned today.
It's going to appeal. Of course they're going to appeal.
They will not.
They will not. They're not appealing it.
Not appealing.
So that means it's not going to go to the full circuit. So it's that right to carry will now become more prevalent in California.
Absolutely.
Good.
If you're
That's
not
great
a crook,
news.
and you got a pulse, you'll be able to get a permit.
Great. All right, now here's the next one though. Then it became apparent that I think 19 attorneys general, I should say, from 19 states, led by the Attorney General of Wyoming, want to file a brief in support of a New Jersey man who wants to do the same thing with the New Jersey restrictions on the right to carry a concealed weapon. That's good news that 19 states want to get involved in that. Where do we stand on that case?
Well, I don't know if that's one that, no, that's still before the court. They did turn down a couple of other appeals. They didn't give cert, as they say, but that one...
that's still going through the courts. Yeah, but that's what I wanted to ask you. So I wanted to know where these all fit in. So that's still active. So when the Supreme Court refuses to hear, and I guess that's what you meant, refuse to give cert this past week, yesterday, to two cases involving, I guess, 18 to 21-year-olds or 18 to 20-year-olds purchasing ammunition and the right to carry. One was in Texas, and they don't hear it, and they let the lower court decision stand, which was restrictive. So how do you view that in the context of the pending? Were they just picking and choosing, saying, well, we're going to have other cases along the same line, so we're not going to address this? Or what significance did not giving cert to those two cases yesterday have?
It's hard to say, because this is the same court that gave us Heller, that gave us the McDonald decision in Chicago, and they've still got that Jersey case that you mentioned before them. It's almost like watching a door in the wind. one day they're closed, the next day they're open. It just goes back and forth. So anybody that tries to predict what the court's going to do got more guts than I do.
Yeah. All right. So on gun legislation, as far as nothing's going to get done. Thank goodness. The president though still goes around and says, I have this pen. And what scares me, and I want to hear your take on it. We keep hearing, even just the other day, that Homeland Security ordered again all kinds of millions of rounds, or 750,000, whatever it is, and it amounts to like 30,000 rounds apiece for every Homeland Security officer in the country. This is on top of everything else they've been buying. What do you think the strategy is there? Is this Obama saying, well, I can't stick the EPA on them, I can't stick the FCC on them, but we could buy up all the bullets and then people won't have anything to use in their guns? I mean, is that what he's thinking here, or what?
Well, first of all, it's hard to get numbers. You see different estimates of what it is they've bought. One was that it might be 2,000 rounds an agent. Well, now you're getting close to how many they might use over a couple of years just in regular practice. So whether they've bought a gazillion or whether they just bought something fairly reasonable for practice. I don't want to obscure, though, the issue. Why do they have agents at all? Where is that in the Constitution? So we shouldn't even be talking about how many rounds they bought.
Yeah. How many agents do they have? Do we know?
100,000 plus.
They have 100,000 plus agents. And
that's incredible.
And what has this done to the availability of ammunition over the past couple of years with all these massive orders and buyings?
Well, according to the industry, most of what's really putting the pressure is you and me. We're the ones that are out there buying. We're concerned. We want to make sure we don't run out, and ammunition does store well. So the private purchaser is probably half of all of this consumption that's these purchases.
What is the average shelf life of ammo?
Indefinite, unless it gets corroded. It's if you keep it in a dry environment, it'll last just about forever.
And so if you stop now and take a deep breath and look at the landscape, look at what might come before the Supreme Court, look at the failure of legislation in the Congress, look at what the president may or may not be trying to do. I think all in all, you got to feel pretty good because those who try to exploit the horrific tragedy, and that wasn't a tragedy, it was a horrific murderous spree, a crime, slaughter at Newtown and any of the other theater shootings, etc. I mean, they failed to win over the American public who understand that if people are allowed to protect themselves, crime goes down.
I think the American people have come over the years to realize that I'm not going to be safer if I can't have a gun. Au contraire. And so this may have some political fallout as well. Last week, Human Events announced the results of a survey that they had done in the Texas Senate primary, the GOP primary, and Senator Cornyn was at 43%, and Congressman Stockman, who's his main opponent, was at 28%. If those numbers are accurate, Cornyn is finished, because once people have been polled and they go and only 43% of them are going to vote for Cornyn, this guy's been in office since Moses. People know who he is. It's not a matter of them having to still decide who he is, find out. I would say that if those numbers are accurate, we're going to be getting used to calling Representative Stockman Senator Stockman.
Very interesting. All right, Larry Pratt, always great to talk to you, sir, Executive Director of Gun Owners of America. Thank you, and congratulations on Piers Morgan.
Well, thank you. Hopefully, he and I will have another opportunity sometime in the future.
All right, maybe on this show. Larry, thank you very much. All right, folks, Larry Pratt. When we come back, the panel will join us. The panel consisting of Ron Christie and Grace Marie Turner. They'll be here, right here, on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax Television.
The Steve Malzberg Show.